Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Ashley, and I am the manager of the customer success team here at JumpCloud. We know that recent weeks have been quite busy, especially for IT departments, as companies make the transition to work from home. I think it's been a great reminder of just how valuable IT teams are for businesses from both the operational and security perspectives. So, with all of these changes, our top priority right now is to make sure that you all have the resources that you need to be successful. Essentially, it's your department's time to shine right now. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Ryan Bacon, who leads our IT department. Ryan will be sharing tips from how we quickly transition to work from home in just 3 days. At the end, we'll be sure to have time for Q&A. If we don't get to everyone's questions, please do drop us a note at accounts@jumpcloud.com, and we'll be sure to follow up with you. And again, that was accounts@jumpcloud.com.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is my first ever webinar as a presenter, so forgive me if I stumble around a bit. Yeah, like Ashley said, I want to talk about what we did at JumpCloud to do a very fast transition from working in the office to a fully remote workforce. So with this, switch slides. So our IT team consists of two people, myself and then our IT support technician, Noah Rosen, who in both of us were involved with this transition. So we are a very small team and we support, well over, 250 people around the globe. So just to give an idea of what we do in the scope of our department. So, as Ashley said, things have been crazy over the past few weeks, as I'm sure all of you know. The pandemic that's going on has necessitated us to transition to a fully remote workforce. We shut down our offices. Only allow in a little bit of a few people at a time if they need to run in and grab something, and so on. And what we would like to share our experiences with everybody just to help as much as we can, because we know that these are stressful and crazy times. And so I will continue on if it will let me change the slide. There we go. All right, so just to give a brief timeline of what we looked at. So on March 10th, we started planning for a few days over a few weeks where we would just do like a test for business continuity. So we would close down the offices, and that way we can make sure and look at how everything was working and work out the kinks and so on. Like I said, it's going to be a gradual thing that we are going to work into, but as we know, things change fast. Things have been changing quickly with this. So on the 11th, the very next day, it was decided that we were going to we're just going to close down our offices effective on the 12th, and until who knows when. It's going to depend on when things start improving and stuff. So for the foreseeable future, we will be working remotely. We are working remotely. And so we had to figure out what we were going to do. We had to, look at our policies, look at what needed to be adjusted, and, help everybody get set up for remote work. So I think it's a good idea for us to show where we started from, our baseline, because, not everybody's going to be the same. And so it is important to show where we started and what we had to do to get to where we are now. So JumpCloud is a cloud native organization. We are fairly young, and so a lot of our product infrastructure is all on the cloud. A lot of our internal testing and stuff is in the cloud. We do have a few things on-prem, but not a lot. Everybody is issued a laptop when they start. That's the main workstation. So our workforce is started off very mobile. we already have set up cloud-based conferencing system. We're a Google shop, so we use Meet. We are very reliant. We have been very reliant on Slack for a long time now for our internal communications. So our employees have been very used to that, used to that kind of communication. Um, we already had multiple VPNs set up, both ones running into our office so we could access like the few test labs and other on-premises resources that people may need, but also we have an open VPN server, open VPN access server set up for when people needed to work remotely or were traveling. So we had that set up with a fairly high capacity on it already. So we had that going already. And we also had an IT asset management system. And we had just really rolled this out within the past 6-8 months roughly. So we have been, working on getting our asset, all of our assets into that. Our new for onboarding new hires, we have already heavily automated that using JumpCloud's PowerShell module and other API tools and command line tools for our other systems. So we already had a few full-time remote workers around the globe. So we did have a process in place, kind of like a small scale, um, but we had to scale it up for everybody. Let's see what else. We also had some, policies in place where like we did not provide any equipment for home offices because it was assumed that remote work is something that happened from time to time. The majority of people's work time would be in the office. So going on with that, I do have to give credit, and this I really do apologize. This is going to sound salesy. Sorry, Ashley. um, one of the main reasons why we were able to do this quickly was because we are firm believers in our own product and we use it. We eat our own dog food. We are tied in as much as we can to it, and frankly, this kind of scenario is where the JumpCloud platform really shines. It's really designed to handle things like this. We don't have an on-prem domain that we have to deal with. So it doesn't matter if our users are in the office or out of the office. We manage our users and our systems and a lot of applications through it as well. We push policies out to our systems using the platform. I have been using the command runner for a while to do different types of system analysis to monitoring, and something as simple as remotely adding printers to people's computers using the command runner. We could have SAML SSO set up wherever we can. We use Radius and LDAP for our VPNs, and like I mentioned earlier, we use the PowerShell module for our automation. So it was very helpful during this time. So the things that we had to do to get ready for this is that we had to determine like what if we're going to allow people to take stuff out of the office to take home and use in their at home offices. What were we going to do? We did decide to end up allowing it. So then we had to determine how do we track the things that people are taking home. So said our asset management program, we had it set up. We were in the middle of doing a full inventory, getting all of this stuff into there, and because it was all on spreadsheets or some of it wasn't even tracked. So it was a big project that we have been working on. So we had to, the stuff that wasn't in there already, how do we get it in there? So what we did is we ended up getting just making a Google form that we put out, self-reporting, saying, okay, this is, if you're taking stuff home, fill out this form, check off the boxes of what you have, and then for anything that we need the serial number to track in our asset management system, put down that serial number. So another big thing is that we had to get stuff ready for people to come and pick up stuff that they need like keyboards, mice, cables. And because we did want to, do our part with social distancing and stuff like that, we kind of had to make things, we couldn't just have IT staff there handing stuff out. So we designated spots where people can come and take stuff. And we already had like a small shelf. We had a shelf with like miscellaneous stuff, some keyboards and mice, stuff that people may need on a regular basis, where they could just come and grab it without having to submit a ticket or anything like that. It's something that I highly encourage because, like, efficiency wise and everything like that, it's much more efficient for someone to go and grab a $10 or $20 keyboard. And if they never return it, you still are ahead than if you had to take time for IT support people and like do requests and purchasing and that sort of stuff. If you look at that, then even if they never return that keyboard or mouse, you're still ahead cost wise than tying up IT resources. But anyways, I digress. So we had to get more assets available for people. So we put out Ethernet cables, we put out a bunch of HDMI cables, extra power strips, power cords, stuff that just a ton of stuff that wouldn't fit on our normal shelf. We put out and we told them this is the designated area for you to pick up these things. And of course, if you need something, let us know, and then we could work out like shipping stuff to people's homes and that sort of thing. One of the biggest things that we did is we transitioned our new hire orientation to be fully remote. We went through a big change with our new hire orientation when our learning and development manager came on board to make it a much better experience. But it was very much designed to be in person and very hands-on with stuff. We did have to really scramble and switch because we started full-time on Thursday, full-time remote on a Thursday, and our first new hire class was on the following Monday. So we had to overnight laptops to people. We had to make a lot of process changes to get this done, but we did it. Okay, so our onboarding process, our orientation. So what we did is we made it a longer process just to give time to for everybody to adjust, to all the presenters to adjust to doing it remotely, and give more times for hiccups, I guess you could say. Another big thing that we changed as far as the IT side of it goes is normally our IT technician Noah would go in and he would handle and he would do the IT portion of the orientations, and while I was doing other things. But what we're doing now is that we would both come in and he would still be the main presenter, but if somebody or some people were having issues, we would have a separate hangout put off to the side, so where we can split the group off and take care of things. And I would help that people who are having any kind of problems getting stuff set up, and that helped to keep the flow of the main orientation going well, and it helped everyone all around. Another big thing is that I guess you could say we increased our availability for helping people get set up for remote work. So, we normally would run, between the two of us, we would have coverage from 6:30 in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. But what we had to do is we made sure that to expand our availability before and after that, in case people were trying to get stuff set up and doing what we can to help them. So that was very important. Also, we had to make sure that we were communicating our processes and our suggestions. So one of the things that I'm working on now to help people is I'm putting together a list of work from home tools or like other ways to use Slack or Hangouts, features that people may not be aware of that would really help. So that kind of communication is really good. So we did have a lot of challenges. So how quickly things were changing was one of our biggest challenges. So, we went from, okay, let's start getting things ready for, a couple of days out and we'll have a day down and then we'll see how it goes and work things out, now to the next day. It's like, oh, it may be a longer period of time, to later in that day being like, we're doing this for the foreseeable future. So a lot of the policies that we were going to, test during those few days where we were going to test remote work, we had to essentially test it in prod. We had to be like, okay, let's put this out, and if anything breaks, we'll fix it right then. Communication also became more complicated, even though we were heavily using Slack and email and stuff. We have the culture at JumpCloud where, you see somebody in the break room kitchen and talk to them, or, you walk by your desk, or if you pass them in the halls, that sort of stuff. We have very open communication, person to person. And with that taken out of the equation, that did complicate the ability to to convey more complicated instructions or rules. So we had to deal with that, and that ties also into providing remote hardware support, since you're essentially having to walk people through stuff. If their system's down, they can't get on to a hangout and share your screen, or you can't remotely connect. So a lot of it was, they're talking to you on the phone and you're walking them through how to do different things. So that is that remote hardware support that we used to just walk over to their desk or whatever and handle is definitely a challenge, and will remain a challenge. It's never going to, I have not seen a good solution for providing this remote hardware support. We have had to troubleshoot some home networks. People who maybe they had spotty networks, or their service wasn't designed for, as the amount of traffic that is required for working from home. So we've had to go through and tell people to reboot their modems, or troubleshooting their home switches or routers, or even to the point of being like, okay, you have to call your internet service provider. This is what you should tell them. This is what you should ask from them, that sort of thing. And also there has been a spike in demand for IT support. So in addition to these like troubleshooting home networks, there may have been issues for a lot of people that they may not have known that they have had, because they always worked in the office. And when they got home, suddenly these issues rear their heads, and now they need IT help uh, to help solve them, and quickly, so that they could be productive. So we have experienced a really big spike in IT support. But that being said, once people started settling into their work from home habits, that things have settled down more, and pretty much the stuff that has been generated, this new stuff concerning remote work has offset the office related stuff. So we don't have to worry so much about the office network or the office infrastructure. So that has reduced work, and then stuff regarding remote work has increased, and they've been about equal. So once things have settled down, our workload has been about the same. So just heads up, I am going to be, we're going to be doing questions here in a few minutes. So please feel free to ask away. There should be a questions portion. So if you have any questions, let us know, and we'll get to them in a little bit. So some helpful resources that I've found that we've had in for JumpCloud is that a lot of companies have opened up their products to give more features to normal accounts, like stuff. For example, Google, they have released availability of certain features that are only available on their enterprise platform to other G Suite to other types of G Suite accounts. So stuff like recording meetings, live streaming, and increasing the participant cap for their Google Meet. Those are things that Google has done specifically, but other companies have released stuff like that, whether it's news companies providing access to articles for free, or a lot of content from other SaaS applications being put out there for free. Google's just the one that comes to mind immediately because that's what affected us the most. Slack, there are, we've been using Slack for a long time, but there are certain features that we never used and up until now. So you can make calls using Slack. You can do screen sharing, and people can do a sort of whiteboarding in Slack. So that's one thing that has helped, because especially the calls, because I don't particularly want to share my cell phone number to the entire company, but this still gives a way for people to contact me, so where we can talk, outside of like a Google Hangout, using cell phones and that sort of thing. For whiteboarding, so if you instead of being in an office and having the whiteboard up and drawing stuff out, there are a lot of whiteboarding apps that are integrated into various services. So G Suite has Jamboard, so you can you don't have to have one of their physical Jamboards in order to use this. You just go to jamboard.google.com and you can do collaborative whiteboards there. Zoom has a whiteboarding feature if you've never used it, stuff like that. And like I said, Slack has kind of a whiteboarding feature in there when you do screen sharing. And those have been very useful. Another thing that has helped us is our ticketing system. We transitioned over to a Slack-based ticketing system, and that has made things very user-friendly. So, it's easier for end users to get a hold of us and for us to turn, a Slack message into a ticket and, keep track of those tickets. That's important because that communication element is vital to working remotely. Also, documentation, creating an FAQ for remote work. That definitely, you could do one for IT that goes over your policies and practices. But what we did is our management team created one that was for the entire company, and they asked us to put together the IT section of that. So it was one all-inclusive thing, but it did cover IT. And like I said before, JumpCloud is really useful. We do have the trial accounts, both the 10 users and 10 systems free forever, and then a Jumpstart account if you needed unlimited users to try some stuff out. So that is what I have. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. Now we're going to answer questions. Okay. What policies do I recommend for working from home? Um, that is a good question. So I would say the screen lock policies are always good. Uh, the there's a bunch of them. I honestly I've the policies that we use at JumpCloud, we because we don't, we keep in mind that people will be working remotely from time to time. We set our policies as if people were going to be remote all the time. So that's one thing to help. So screen lock, turning off, guest access, the USB restrictions, um, you know, auto updates. I can we have so many policies, I can't think of them off the top of my head. Let me look some more up.
Thanks, Ryan. And while Ryan's doing that, we do have a couple more questions in the queue here. And if anyone else has
Yeah.
more questions, feel free to type them in the sidebar. We're watching that right now.
Okay.
Mm.
Let's see. Of course, disk encryption is a big one. Should always be on there. Let's see. The policies surrounding system updates would be very important. Like I said, USB storage, um, gatekeeper on Mac. So, whether you want to enable it or disable it, depending on your setup, having that there. Honestly, I would probably say, uh, setting that to allow the apps for identified developers as well as disabling the override would be helpful. I mean, sometimes part of the troubleshooting process, you do need to disable gatekeeper, but you can always, on a kind of an ad hoc, case by case basis, remove somebody, put the person in another group that doesn't have that policy while you troubleshoot it, and then put them back in. So then the policies surrounding firewalls, um, that all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, like I said, my suggestion is that when you're setting policies, you just keep them, act like they're going to be working from home, even if they're going to be in the office most of the time. So, but those ones that I listed, I think are the big ones.
Excellent. Thanks, Ryan. And we've got another question here. Question is, can you share more what you did with Radius and LDAP for your VPN?
Sure, yeah, not a problem. So we have there, like I said, there are two main VPNs that we use. One that we uh, use for any kind of remote work. When people were traveling, working from coffee shops, that sort of thing. Um, that one's tied into one of our LDAP groups. So we have an LDAP group that everybody goes into. And what we did is, we use that group for resources that, well, frankly, everybody's going to need access to, such as this VPN. So that VPN authenticates. It's an open VPN, authenticates over to that LDAP group, and then we have the VPN that comes into our office. We use FortiGate firewalls, and that VPN we have authenticating against Radius, mainly because I was getting migraines trying to get FortiGate to work with LDAP. I mean, it's just a FortiGate thing. Doing Radius on FortiGate was significantly easier than doing LDAP on there. So that's what I have. The Radius, uh, the one that uses Radius, we have it with using a pre-shared key that we securely provide to people as they need access to that VPN, because not everybody needs to access office resources remotely. It's mainly, like I said, for test labs and that sort of thing. So we do that on a case by case basis where we can securely send a pre-shared key out, And then that pre-shared key is just to initially connect to the firewall, and then authentication to get through the firewall is done using Radius.
Excellent. Great. Thanks, Ryan. And the last question that we have on the list here is you mentioned System Insights. What in particular have you been using there?
So we use System Insights to check to see if uh, we like we use it to check to see OS versions. We've used it to see if, to make sure that systems have our antivirus installed on them. Um, we, oh gosh, what else have we used it for? Uh, we use it to, and System Insight shows a lot. But the two big recent things that we've used it for is, there was a critical Windows update recently, and we use that for, we use it to check and make sure that they were on the proper update, on the proper version, and then work through people, and when they said they update, we verify and that sort of thing. And then for checking, we check the application tables of the systems a lot to make sure they have antivirus, or stuff that they, if we find out that an application that we thought was safe turns out to have it's like an update exposes a vulnerability or something like that, or a vulnerability gets discovered, we go in there and check to make sure that that application, if that application is on systems, then we can either use the command runner to if it's able to be uninstalled via the command line, we use the command runner to uninstall it, or we work with the person to get it uninstalled. And of course, anytime we do stuff like that, it's a trust but verify thing. So, you work through them and they say it's okay, then we go back and double check to make sure that it is okay, and just keep going through that process as needed.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. And folks who are still on the line, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And if you have any more questions specifically around your environment, please reach out to us at accounts@jumpcloud.com, and your customer success manager will be sure to reach out to you, and we can set up a more technical call catered around your environment.
Yes, thank you everyone, and be healthy, be safe. Let us know if you need anything.
Great. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.